Join us for a one-of-a-kind experience with the unique Dr. Max. As a strategic psychologist, author, and advisor to the world's most successful and ambitious brands, Dr. Max captivates with bold, original artwork and powerful real-world insights. Discover how to keep moving forward, overcoming idea zombies, riding sharks, surfing waves, and arriving in strategic paradise. Be entertained, enlightened, and inspired.
So, hi Max, how are you?
I'm brilliant. Thank you very much.
Thank you for joining and welcome in ExecINNOV podcast. Max, we don't need to go through your whole career today because you're already a worldwide known voice in strategy and innovation. And of course, also an international author who has inspired many of us. I do have the strategy in the innovator books. And I'm really glad that I know you for more than 5 years now. And I really appreciate you just, sir, for sending me the Innovator book as one of the first reader of it. And today we're even more glad to have you on board our exclusive ExecINNOV ecosystem, where we bring together innovation leaders and strategic mindset to one place to think and cross their point of views and insights. So, Max, to start, I would start with your story, not your career, as you're already well known. So, what actually led you to focus on strategy and innovation in the beginning?
Well, the innovation bit, which I define, I like bringing in definitions early. So that the rest of the conversation makes more sense. So innovation for me is new ideas made useful. Not just new ideas, that's insight. New ideas made useful. Well, I was always interested in new ideas, and I was always interested in how things worked. So as a kid, I was the toddler, the young child who threw himself out of his cot, who ran around 10 months around his parents' apartment, who knocked things over, who cut things up. I was always interested in it, but how does stuff work? And not just how does stuff work, but how can you make it and remake it? How can you take it apart and get it to do something else? And that was from, pre-verbal. That was me. And then when I discovered you could draw and change your world and reflect your world, I was even more engaged. And this is a way of answering it because my interest in innovation, my interest in strategy, which is, again, shaping the future, thinking about what's happened. You take an action, then there's a result, then you think about it, then you might change what you do. That kind of process was, again, really interesting to me as a child. So, of course, I was a Sesame Street child. And of course, I was fascinated in computing when that emerged. My father was working in that area. So I wanted to know about computing and went to adult classes and then pursued that as a degree and as a career at first. But can you see that this is strategy shaping the future with ideas? It's both of these things. And as we will get to, I think, both of these things are human adaptability, how humans adapt, how they shape their world in the form that they wish it to be, or how their world shapes them. So that's the very short answer. Childhood, computing, business, MBA, psychology, doctorate, because I'm interested in how humans shape the future, because I'm one of them. And of course, so are you.
Thank you. And so I don't know, like you've been more a curious kid, looking to understand things, but also curious about how you can actually iterate on that thing you have between your hands to make it a better version. So it's more iterative. Adaptability, you mentioned, approaches to get the things done. So you worked with many leading companies in this strategy. How this mindset you developed, of course, combined with your career in strategy innovation, helped innovation leaders, big companies and organizations to meet reality behind the strategy they will shape, because shaping the strategy.
No, I like how you describe that, the meeting reality, because sooner or later, like a boxer gets punched and learns that their plan is not enough, the same is true for any strategy. When it meets reality, it must adapt, or it must certainly fail, since no strategy survives contact with reality unchanged. If it is to be successful, it can't. And if leaders and thinkers are listening to this, that think about that you can't possibly know and compute everything that will happen that will affect your plan and your actions. Impossible. Just even our two brains. I've got 86 billion neurons. You've got 86 billion neurons. We can't even perfectly know what the other one will do, or even what I will do. It's impossible. It's actually impossible for anybody to know themselves. It's always incomplete. That's Gödel's theorem for the mathematicians. It's impossible. So you have to step outside of something to understand it, and it's always incomplete. The reason I mention this is that I work with a lot of thinkers, and in a way, a lot of dissatisfied people. Okay. A lot of people who say, yes, I've got this big strategy firm in, yes, I have a HR firm in, I have all these specialists around me, but I still need something else. I still need a way of looking at the world and bringing all these brains together so that we can adapt to our reality in time to be successful. And that's again getting back down to the primitives, what's really happening. Because all the jargon that we have in the world, that ends up overwhelming. It's like having different languages that you don't speak, and then we come into meetings and we don't understand each other and we can't talk, and all the time there's 1,000 people, 10,000 people, 100,000 people who need motivating, coordinating, organizing towards some goal that they have in common, and then moving fast enough. So it's stepping right up to the top. I talk to my clients about how if you really want to be a leader, you have to almost push your seat back from the table to give yourself enough space to rise above what's happening and see the simplified version of what is happening, to be able to put your finger on the bit that needs to change. And that's what's appreciated, because I help somebody to do that, to choose the minimal change to have the maximum impact. And that's right above all of these things. You imagine Nokia, if people remember back in the day, they had 4 or 5 different projects going on in order to compete with Apple. None of them were coordinated, all of them were competitive, and nobody ever rose above in order to say, this is not working. Somebody needs to do something here. And that's very much my role, to help the leader I work with to rise above, to see clearly enough, simply enough to say there are only 3, 6, 7, 8, 9 things I can keep in my head. Mm-hmm. Which one needs to change? What's the model really? What's really going on here? And where can we make a difference? Because hiring somebody to write to you a 700-page report does not help with your feelings of overwhelm. Who has time to read it?
I like the fact that you advise to take a step back and see the whole picture and try to actually focus on the Pareto 20% that will bring the 80% of results. But I think this is the most challenging part of the strategy assessment or the strategy roadmap, to find what is the most, let's call it winning product within the company or in their roadmap to be shaped. So with your perspective, your experience with top leaders and innovation thinkers, what do many organizations get wrong about strategy shaping?
Well, I think if I go the other way around, because I'm on a positive spin at the moment, what I feel that they can definitely do better with almost magical, miraculous results is to refocus on the purpose of these words, the purpose of strategy, the purpose of innovation, what the outcome is and what's really going on. once you start asking those really basic questions, where are we? Where are we going? What do we need to do to get there? That seems so simple, and strategy is simple, but then simple is complex. You have to find a way of coordinating that to not get confused. You look at all the reactions going on, pharmaceuticals at the moment, it's being hit by government, it's being hit by limitations on spending, it's being hit by AI. Is AI going to save it money, speed things up? But what should it do? Should it fire its people? Should it insist? It gets beyond the capacity of a human to compute. And I think at the point that happens, what the leader does is just go into survival mode. They attend the earnings call, they attend the board meeting, they attend the senior leadership meeting, they attend the away day and the all hands meeting. And all they're doing is sort of saying words to survive the day or the call. And that's okay. I guess the CEO of GM, she's managed to do that for more than a decade and she's still there. And that's okay. But what about when it's not working? What about when it's a trap? And which is why I advise my clients to think before you plan, that it would be better to spend 2 days hanging out with me, drinking or whatever. You don't have to drink, but chilling and walking and thinking and finding the crux, like climbing, rock climbing, the crux, the most difficult bit of the problem, or the bit of the problem that will bring the greatest advantage. Not everything is equal. So bring that time back. You can be fast, but if you're stuck, you still have to spend some time and allocate your own resources differently. And yes, I see people so tired that they make bad decisions or poor decisions or mediocre in English, a meh decision, a mediocre decision. It's okay, but then you just roll forward the problem into the next meeting. And then the next meeting and the next meeting. And then your people are depressed or demotivated or leaving or doing all the other coping mechanisms because they know the boss is not really listening. They're not really listening.
Yeah. And I totally agree. And now moving from actually the strategy part to the innovation part that you are leading for years. I would like to know, because from my experience with innovation leaders, from my audience, I do have a club of many innovation leaders in different sectors, because I believe personally in the cross-fertilization between industries, things that have been actually mature in an industry, technologies, for instance, that could be applied in other industries. I'm thinking about diapers for astronauts that have been invented by NASA and used by pumpers and other industries for baby. So actually, while reading your innovators book, and I do remember this, you talked about how actually we can help organizations to create powerful innovations that will deliver results, and not just some new failures to actually learn from them, because innovation, whether it's successful or a failure, it's a value for the innovation process. But what is the first 2-3 things that comes to your mind right now that organization must do to foster successful innovation within their organizations?
I think, again, start with what it is, understanding what it is, because once you understand what it is, instead of errors compounding, faults and failures and misunderstanding compounding, you start to have compounding comprehension, enlightenment. So if you say that innovation is new ideas made useful, if you say that it may start with an insight, or it may start with an idea, or it may start with an invention, or it may start with an innovation, that there's a whole flow here, and you say that this has to do us some good. What good can it do us? You get to look in each of those different areas to more accurately, helpfully, productively, adaptively use an idea. For instance, if let's look at, say, a problem insight. You're traveling to work and you notice that everybody has to queue for ages and can't get through the barriers. You have recognized a problem, and that's useful, but you don't yet have a solution insight. Somebody else may have some scanning technology that could be applied in this area, but they may not know how to apply it because they have no real world problem to solve. They just have a solution. If you bring those two things together, of course, you're a lot closer to innovation. And I think by not getting it the wrong way round, in English we talk about not putting the cart before the horse. Well, you don't want to put the tool before the outcome. You don't want to put the machine before the mind. You have to put things in the right order and say, what is it we do? What has changed? What new idea is coming? How can that help us, rather than starting to be the slave to an idea? You know, like Slave to the Rhythm, the brilliant song. You don't want to be slave to the idea. It's there for you. Maybe you don't even need it. I mean, there are genuinely people out there, CEOs, who have never learned how to use email, even now in 2025, who have their secretary printing it out for them. Is this wrong? Not necessarily. What if it works for them? So you have to think carefully as an organization, be creative. If you don't understand a concept, go have some exploration. But that's not the same thing as trying to exploit it or put it into practice or run with a big project. It's just play. So we all know what we're talking about. And then you say, what are we trying to actually solve? Will this help? What I find very often, I worked with, you're in Paris, I worked with a huge company at La Défense, the big business park there. And they had a whole board, senior managers, who didn't understand robotics. They didn't understand machine learning as it was back then, and AI. They didn't understand drones. There are a whole set of technologies they didn't understand. And when they got together to discuss them, because they didn't understand, they had to fake it. They had to pretend to understand and then leave, with some people frustrated and other people bored. By bringing them into rooms and spaces where we introduced them to all these technologies and showed them how they could work, and ran sort of strategy creative sessions to help them to put together businesses that would use these ideas, to look at their strengths and weaknesses and characteristics, we were able to change the nature of the conversation. Not that every idea we came up with became a business, but from that point, these people were conversant, they were fluent, so that the conversation in the next board meeting had substance. So you have to really get to the bit that doesn't work, to people. Where is the gap? Is it in understanding, recognition, action? These are not all the same things. And so you have to focus on the gap, not the assumed gap. If you're, say one last thing. So if you're the person with that idea and you think your idea is brilliant, but you have not successfully shown how it works and why it's important, you will be continually disappointed with the response because you have not sufficiently well explained it. You have assumed that your audience know what you're talking about. Make no such assumptions. Just invite somebody in and make sure that they understand how it works. You don't want to go too fast or too slow. Goldilocks, just right.
All right, I do have a question for you. A question that I didn't expect for the podcast. So, as a mentor and I monitor actually many innovation leaders in my ecosystem, ExecINNOV ecosystem. When it comes to meeting someone, a chief technology officer or chief innovation officer, I do have a key question. It's a simple one that I ask, and which is, how can you describe innovation in one word? Why? Because when I'm talking to actually a technology-driven company, the first thing that will actually come to their minds is patents, technology, invention, which is quite different than innovation. When I'm gonna talk to a market-driven company, an airline or a banking company, they will be like, oh, it's customer, it's value, it's so. I would like to know from your perspective, what is in few words innovation? Because you saw many things from the strategy part of it, from the execution part of it, with many industries, not just one industry focused on tech or market or customers. So what is for you, Max, innovation?
Well, as I was saying before, innovation is a new idea that you make useful. That is the path of innovation. It's not, sometimes it includes having the new idea. It includes making that new idea physical or exist in the real world. And then it includes making it useful. And in my definitions, something doesn't become innovation until it is useful. Now, there are other questions. How useful is it? And who is it useful for? But it's only when it passes through these stages that you can really say we have innovated, which I think is both good news and a very good way of judging your efforts.
Yeah, but
so the good news is you don't have to have the original idea. That's not your job. Okay. Your job is to use existing ideas and find use for them, or have a problem and then reach out to new ideas to solve it. If it's irrelevant to you, it's irrelevant to you. So that's great news.
Yeah, it's like connecting dots with other successful factors and outside of your own bubble of ideas to increase the chance for this idea to meet the market or to meet the success. But how we can actually make sure that the idea will be transformed for sure into innovation in certain environments. So speaking of uncertain, maybe I can flip the question. It's been more than a decade now. You wrote a book about adaptability, and it was actually how to win in the age of uncertainty. How do you see adaptability as a winning factor for strategy and innovation in this case?
Well, again, it gets back to the reason that we're doing all of these things. Now, some people just like new ideas. They're idea junkies. They just like the new idea. They don't care whether it works or not. What they care about is just playing with new ideas, like me as a child. And that's okay, but it's not enough. It's necessary, but not sufficient. What you want instead is to be able to take an idea, new or old, and use it to get where you want. Use available means to achieve desirable ends. They work one place to the other. Available means, desirable ends, or the other way around if you like. It's the journey that is really important here. So, by remembering that this is about adaptability, you can remember that all success is successful adaptation, and all failure is failure to adapt. So if you are experiencing success, it is because what you are doing is well enough suited to your environment and your goal. Those two things. If you're experiencing failure, necessarily that means that your actions, your characteristics are not yet well suited to your environment, plus or times your goal. Does this make sense?
Yeah.
So almost this one from earlier, that there's nothing wrong with the dinosaur. Dinosaurs existed for a lot longer than we did, and in a way they still do. Crocodile, all crocodiles are dinosaurs, effectively. But what happened was that the environment changed so much that it overwhelmed their ability to adapt sufficiently well to succeed. So I think it went.
I tried to find the page with the dinosaur though.
But that people won't know that. The Innovators book is full of photos of objects, which make me laugh all the time. And you should know by now, Kareem, I do everything in my life to amuse myself. And to entertain myself. So it is important, though, this difference. In strategy, there is always a line. There is always a line that says, this is success. Just above that is some level of impossibility, something that is currently impossible. Then there's success, and then there's a point of failure down here. Well, if your actions get below the point of failure, you lack the resources to adapt in time to continue to exist. That's not a moral judgment. That's just the way it is. It's not your fault. It just is the way it is. So when the environment changes in ways that exceed your adaptive capacity, you will cease. Everything that still exists has does what is required to exist. That includes a rock, a stone, gravity, anything that exists meets the conditions for existence. And this does matter, and that's why my clients are clever people who recognize this at a higher level. They say, well, actually, that is true. So if I want Hewlett-Packard to continue to exist, it must meet the criteria for continued existence. Yeah. If I want them to actually transcend current limits, to do better than they've done before, I need to meet those criteria. And that becomes a very different and very interesting, intellectually, a very interesting process. It isn't all those bits. That's what managers do.
Yeah.
They do that, they finish this project, they do that task, they go home. But at a higher level, the organization will only thrive or exist if it meets those conditions. And the leader will only do so if they learn to do that rather than just sitting in their job. And it's a huge difference. And when my clients, individual or organizations, really start to get that, they look at what they do in a very different way. They say, does this help us to exist and thrive or not?
All right.
Or is it just wasting our time?
All right. So this is interesting. So you're asking to go to focus on the most necessary things out of innovation. And this reminds me of something you mentioned in your last book, Super Adaptability, the run loop. Recognize, understand, and
necessary action.
Is it this what you're talking about right now?
Yes. Well, in Adaptability, I introduced the run loop. So that's 12, 13 years ago.
Right.
I talked about recognize, understand, necessary action. And what I said in it, with lots of examples, was if you didn't recognize something, you wouldn't move on to understanding. If you didn't understand something, you could take action, but the action you take is less likely to be the right action because you don't understand what to do. So people could get stuck at recognize, understand, or action, or they could jump past those two first ones and just take action. You know that person. They do lots of things all day long, but they are doing the wrong thing, leading to the wrong results. You don't want that. You don't want busy work. You want work that is actually going to lead to consequences and outcomes that are beneficial, desirable outcomes, desirable places. So that's where I introduced that first term, but it was very simple. And then a publisher came to me last year and said, Max, it was pretty cool, actually. I'm excited. They said, Max, we really love this stuff. We want to launch we want a flagship book because we're moving into this new space. Would you write for us? And I thought, yes, I would. And they said, can you revisit Adaptability? Maybe just, do a new edition? So I started doing this, and I was going to change maybe 20% of it, change the case studies. But I started running, and I ran and I dictated this book, and I started asking myself very big questions. Questions like, but what does it really mean to recognize, and which part of our brain does that? And how do I break it down in useful ways? And who represents this in the real world? And who is a super adaptive mind that we can learn from? And how does that apply to understand? And how does that apply to necessary action? And I ended up writing a completely new book. Here it is, Super Adaptability. All 697 pages of it, self-illustrated. And it really has found that this simple loop, I can't be enthusiastic enough about it in a way. This simple cognitive loop has quite profound implications for how we should lead and manage ourselves in our lives, and then also our organizations, once we understand that all human progress has come from these cognitive loops. Necessarily, because human minds create the human world, and human minds can remake our human world. That's all there is. That's all we have available to us. Even if an alien came down to us, we'd still have to think about it and understand what they have to say. So this run loop is hugely powerful, and I'm really looking forward to sharing it with as many people as possible in the world. It's right up there above all these other things we've discussed.
And I'm looking forward to read it by the next couple of weeks. And thank you so much, Max, for your insights. And it's always a pleasure to talk to you. So just before, how can people get to your book right now?
Well, the book's out in November. If they want to pre-order it, which they should do, they should go to Amazon, look for Super Adaptability, and they will find it there, Max Mckeown. And as I said, once you start to see the world as this loop, it's by Madoff, pattern recognition. Once you start to see it, you will find it's useful, like a click. It's useful in overcoming overwhelm, in dealing with this call, this podcast, in reorientating your life, in replanning your strategy. It really is that fundamental and that flexible. It's fractal-like. You'll see it everywhere to your benefit. So yeah, grab a copy and change the way you view the world.
Thank you so much, Max.
You're very welcome. Real pleasure to be here.
Thank you.